The Judeo-Christian mythos was depicted many times over and over again during the High Renaissance. Many of these works of art are fantastic images of the miracles of God and the people who worship him. But what I find really interesting is how much people's views on gods and, in fact, praying to gods for answers has changed since the Renaissance. Similar topics can be depicted in very different ways, whether it's visually depicted or auditorily depicted, or how people feel on these subjects. Specifically, I want to analyze how people feel about praying to a god/gods for answers, and in order to do so, I will be comparing The Sacrifice of Isaac by Lorenzo Ghiberti to a song from 2021 called Voices of Zabaha by a producer known as Kikuo. Now, if one were to look at the sculpture of the Sacrifice of Isaac, we can see it's a beautifully detailed depiction of the entire story, from being shown the donkey riding up the mountain, to Abraham about to sacrifice Isaac, to the angel reaching out for both Abraham and Isaac, to the ram caught in the brambles. What makes this sculpture so impressive from an artistic sense is that it tells every single aspect of the story on a very small frame. Every single character is shown, every single plot point is shown, and not to mention all of it in beautiful detail. Of course, everything being beautifully detailed is the standard for the time of the Renaissance, but I don't think it's talked about enough how much detail there is on such a small scale. Remember, this was going on the door of a chapel, so it can't be as big as a normal painting or as big as a normal sculpture. This is a very small thing, so the fact that one can see the folds in the clothes, a wool of the ram, and the feathers on the angel's wings is downright incredible. And even ignoring how it was done on a small scale, it is still incredible with how accurate the anatomy is and the visual hierarchy itself. The eye is immediately drawn to the titular scene of Abraham about to sacrifice Isaac, and then it's drawn to the other figures of the scene, like the ram caught in the brambles, the angel, the donkey, the rocks in the mountain. Everything spreads out from the centerpiece, even though it's technically not front and center. But what's more, the sculpture also illustrates the purpose and theme behind the story of Abraham putting his faith in God to make sure that his son doesn't die. Trusting in God is a common theme in the Judeo-Christian mythos, which is why it's shown so many times as early as this. Abraham came so close to actually killing Isaac because he had trust that something, or rather someone, would stop him, and that essentially him asking for God's answer. Some might call it true loyalty, while in a modern sense it might be called blind faith. Which now brings us to Voices of Zabaha. Voices of Zabaha, made by Kikuo, has a very distinct and specific style. It takes a lot of reference and inspiration from both Buddhism and Hinduism, which also brings up the theme of the song. Essentially, if you read the translation, it's about how humans are pitiful for trying to ask the gods for answers to their problems. Basically asking them to solve their problems for them instead of trying to fix everything themselves. Kikuo's point in the song is the exact opposite of the sacrifice of Isaac. Instead of someone putting their faith in God, Kikuo postulates that one needs to search for answers on their own instead of just hoping some divine presence will come along and fix all their problems for them. The hook line of the song parodies how people usually pray to gods. The line is Iasaka Sowaka Koate Dareka, which translates to "Let us prosper, Svaha, someone please respond to us." Svaha in both Hinduism and Buddhism is what's said after prayers, like in Judeo-Christian services, someone would say Amen. The second half of the song then starts with the lyrics, "You're so pathetic, huh? Guess we are too," as if to call out humanity for trying to look for divine solutions when they just refuse to fix things themselves. Compare that to the sacrifice of Isaac, where Abraham is applauded for putting his faith in God that everything will turn out right. These two works of art, the sculpture and the song, are put in direct opposition of each other, but it's rather fascinating how the same idea of looking to divinity for answers can come with two very different responses expressed in two very different ways. The Sacrifice of Isaac is a beautiful golden sculpture from the Renaissance depicting how one man can put his faith in God to make sure that people he cares about do not get hurt. While Voices of Sabaha is a modern take on Hinduism and Buddhism, condemning humanity for trying to find simple solutions when they just need to work to get what they desire. In the end, it's up to the audiences of both pieces of art to decide which philosophy they agree with more, whether it's putting faith in your religion and deity/deities, or deciding that you need to take hold of your destiny yourself. And hell, people might not even analyze the sculpture or the song in the same way I do, but overall, people should just analyze art. It helps get a better view of the world overall.